Hi guys, welcome to another section of learning with Prepclass. I am Tutor Chima, I'm your anchor for today. Now, we are going to be looking at past questions on Jamb, biology for the year 2020. We are going to be solving questions 36 to 40. This is because in our previous video we solved questions 31 to 35. If you have not seen any of our videos, please go back, go through it. We'll solve questions on Jamb Biology 2020 from number 21. We'll solve Jamb past questions on biology for the year 2020 from number 1 to 35. So today we'll be looking at questions 36 to 40. Before we continue, students, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos. Click on the notification bell. When you do so, this will help you to be notified of the latest video we have whenever we have. That is what I'm trying to say, is that each time we post a video on our YouTube channel, you will be the first person that will be notified that we have a video. So that's the essence of you switching on the notification bell. After watching a video, you can try as much as possible to drop a comment, especially if you have a question, maybe in an area that you still need me to explain more, to throw more light. It's confusing, you want me to explain more, try as much as possible to drop a question, and I'll be always available to attend to your question. Do not forget to share our videos. You know, there are people that will really need this video, maybe your friends, maybe your relatives. So as you watch and enjoy, please click share so that other people will also benefit from the knowledge you are acquiring from Prepclass. So we've talked too much. Let us move straight to the business of today without wasting your time, and that is solving questions 36 to 40. 36 says, which of the following will yield the greatest amount of energy when completely oxidized? Which of the following will yield the greatest amount of energy when completely oxidized? Is it 100 kg of bread? Is it 100 kg of sugar? Is it 100 kg of beans? Is it 100 kg of margarine? Now, bread and sugar are carbohydrates. Now, bread is starch, sugar is maybe sugar is sugar. Let me just put it that way. What I'm trying to say is that you know that starch contains large quantities of sugar molecule in thousands, in thousands or so. So bread will supply more energy than sugar because the molecular structure of starch is more gigantic than that of sugar. That's number one. Number two is that beans is a proteinous diet. Yes, it will supply energy, but it will not supply energy like sugar and bread, because sugar and bread are classified as carbohydrates. So we know carbohydrate as energy yielding food. Beans is more of protein. We know it as a nutrient that helps in building blocks, that is building or repair of our tissues, but we know carbohydrate majorly as energy yielding food. Now this is margarine. What do you think about margarine? Margarine is fat. What do you think about fat? Is it an energy yielding food? Yes, it is. But I think if you don't know much about fat, this will surprise you. Look at what I said. I said carbohydrate is known mostly as an energy yielding nutrient, but fat contains about 2.5 times the energy present in carbohydrates. You see? So fat contains about 2.5 times the energy that carbohydrate can supply. So since margarine is a fatty diet, it will yield the greatest energy when completely oxidized, because it's going to contain 2.5 times the energy that this bread will supply. So the best answer there is margarine. So 100 kg of margarine will supply the highest amount of energy when completely oxidized. 37. Fatigue of the body's muscles may occur after a long race because of, is it excess carbon dioxide? Is it insufficient carbohydrate? Is it sufficient glucose? Is it sufficient oxygen? You know what is fatigue? For example, when you lift weights, you gym, before you know, your muscles will start paining you or to be weak. Or when you run too much, your laps will be paining you or to be weak or tired. That's what we call fatigue. So they're asking us what causes this fatigueness. Is it excess carbon dioxide? Is it insufficient carbohydrates? Is it insufficient glucose, or is it insufficient oxygen? Let us see. Now I said something that during vigorous exercises, the muscle cells use up oxygen faster than it can produce. As you are running up and down, as you are gymming sharp, the muscle cells can use up oxygen faster than it can produce. Now, remember that this oxygen that the muscle cells is using, they are using that oxygen to burn up glucose to release ATP. ATP is used by our body in the form of, this is the energy that we need. It's not the glucose. The glucose must be broken down to release this ATP. It is this ATP that we use to stay alive and to perform all other work functions. So the energy that we use is a form of ATP. So during vigorous exercises, the muscle cells use up oxygen faster than it can produce. When oxygen is in very low level, as the muscle cells is now consuming oxygen faster than the oxygen is being produced, a time will come when there will be lack of insufficient oxygen because the muscle have consumed so much. So when oxygen is in very low level, the muscle cells or the muscles start respiring anaerobically in order to continue supplying the energy in form of ATP that is needed for the exercise. So once oxygen level drops, the muscles does not stop its activity because you are still running or you are still gymming. So they will need to respire anaerobically. In the absence of oxygen, they will need to break down glucose in the absence of oxygen to continue to produce this ATP that you need for your exercise. So as they break down glucose to release ATP, the glucose is being converted to lactic acid. The lactic acid continues to grow, that is, the position of lactic acid continues to increase to a certain extent that the muscle cells become completely saturated with lactic acid. And when that happens, the muscle cells can no longer do anything. They'll become tired, and we call that fatigue. So I said that this results to formation of lactic acid. Accumulation of lactic acid as a result of insufficient oxygen in the muscle leads to fatigueness. So this fatigueness is caused by two things. One is high deposition of lactic acid, which is caused by low or insufficient oxygen. So if you don't have deposition of lactic acid, you must have insufficient oxygen. These are the two things that causes the fatigue. So we look here, since I didn't mention lactic acid here, then the best choice here is insufficient oxygen, because it's that insufficient oxygen that causes the muscle cells to respire anaerobically, producing that lactic acid that now causes what? Fatigue. Okay. 38. Which of the following is an example of discontinuous variation? We know that variation is physical observable differences between members of the species. Like you may be tall, your sister may be short, you may be light, your brother may be fair. That's variation. That's physical observable differences. There are two types. We have continuous and discontinuous. Two major. Now, they're asking us which of the following is discontinuous variation. Is it height? Is it skin color? Is it left-handedness? Is it hair coloration? It can be confusing, but I'll help you on how to differentiate the two. Now, I say that continuous variation is the opposite of discontinuous variation. That's this one. Continuous variations are genetic traits that change, like the height. You know that the height of a person can change. By the time, if you're a tall man like me, by the time you start getting old, or by the time the person is an old man, the person will shrink and start bending. I'm sure you've seen many old men that are bent as the height. So as a human being grows and grows, when you are young, you are tall. By the time you are old, you now bend, you now be shrinking, or you look smaller. If you are fat when you are young, by the time you are old, you may look slimmer. So that is why height is a continuous variation. The difference is continuous. When you are younger, you may not be too tall. Later, you become tall. See? So the difference is the variation continues. Hair color. There are some people, you must have seen people that naturally they have black hair. As they start getting old, the hair will turn grey. So the difference is continuous. Shoe size. Your leg will be small today. As you grow older, it will become bigger. Your height, weight. So I said here that Your height, weight, finger length, and so on would have changed throughout your life. That's continuous. When you are young, you may be small in size. When you are fully grown, they will be long in size. When you are getting old, they may be shrinking in size. So your height, weight, finger length, and so on will have changed throughout your life, continuous. But that's continuous variation include height, weight, finger length, color, and so on. But your blood type cannot change. Your blood type, your earwax type, your fingerprint, and your sex do not change. So that's discontinuous variation. If you have blood group A, you remain blood group A till the day you die. Whether even if you are an old man or not, you still remain blood group A. If you have blood group O, you remain like that till the day you leave this earth. It does not change. So your blood group does not change. Your earwax type, your fingerprint, and your sex. You cannot change from a man to a woman unless you go for maybe all this transgender stuff. But naturally, as a man, you're a man forever. So those variation or differences I have mentioned that do not change are known as discontinuous. Those ones that are substituted to change are known as what's continuous. So they're not asking us which one is this left-handedness. I believe once somebody's left-handedness, I don't think that person can become a right-handed person again. No. Once you are a lefty, you play with left, you shoot ball shot with left, you write with left, your boxing, your strength, you call them southpaw. Left, your mouse side, the way how you use your mouse when you are using your computer is by your left hand side. Such do not change. A left-handed person remains a left-handed person for life. So because of that, left-handedness is a discontinuous variation since it do not change. Height can change, can be tall today. When you're old, you bend. Skin color can change, it can be fair today. When you're old, you be darker. Of course, you see many ladies that when they are young, they are fair, but when they are old, they'll be darker. Hair color, of course, if you have a black hair today, when you are old, it will become gray. But when you are left-handed, you are left-handed forever. So this one is a discontinuous variation since it do not change. So the correct answer is left-handedness. Okay, this one says use the figure 1, which is this, to answer questions 39 to 41. But for this sake, we will only use it for 39 to 40. How many phenotypes are there in the second filial generation? So this is a cross between a tall parent and a short parent. Tall and short. Maybe the man is tall, the woman is short, or the woman is tall, the man is short. It's even tall and dwarf. Okay, for dwarf, for tall, since tallness is usually dominant over shortness. Tallness dominates shortness. So we use capital letter T for the dominant gene. We use small letter. You don't use D or let's say shortness. You now use S to confuse you. Use the same alphabet for two of them. But for the one that dominates, use capital letter. For the one that does not dominate, recessive gene, use small letter. So capital letter T for tall, capital letter T for tall, small letter T for short. So when you cross these two, you have all tall parents, but they will have the gene for shortness in them. You can see small t here. Then when they meet, or when this person meets somebody that has his own gene too, you see that they will have a tall parent or a tall child that doesn't have gene for shortness, 2 tall children that have gene for shortness in them, and 1 short child. How many phenotypes are there in the second filial generation? So I said phenotype or phenotypic appearance is the physical form of an individual, such as the height, color, etc. So in physical appearance, we are talking about how they look like physically. We don't care about their genetic makeup, whether it's capital letter T, whether you have short gene or not. It's not about business. Our business is physically, how do you look like? So a man may be very tall but have a gene for shortness in them. A man may be very tall but will not have a gene for shortness in him. So they're asking us how many phenotypes, that's physically looking at them, how many is there? So I said in the second filial generation we have 1 homozygous tall, that is a person that doesn't have gene for shortness, 2 allelic form that are the same, homozygous. Allele means alternating form of a gene. 2 allelic form that are the same, homozygous. So we have 1 homozygous tall, TT, doesn't have gene for shortness in him. 2 heterozygous tall, capital letter T, small letter t. These ones, they have gene for shortness in them, but physically they are tall. 1 homozygous short, small letter c, small letter t. This one physically is short. These 2 physically are tall, but they have gene for shortness in them. This one physically is tall and has no gene for shortness in it. So they say, I said that physically 3 offsprings, that's 1 TT, this, and that's 1 capital letter T, capital letter T, and 2 capital letter T, small letter t are tall. So 1, 2, 3 are tall. And 1 TT, small letter T, small letter t is short. So 1, 2, 3 are tall, while this one is short. Therefore, the phenotypes are tall and short. So it's either that they are tall and short. Though the ratio of tall to short is 3:1. But they're asking you how many phenotypes are there. Physically, how many physical these things? Either one only tall, like here now, in this first filial generation, the number of phenotypes here is 1 because they are all tall. But in this second filial generation, the number of phenotypes here is 2 because I can see gene for tallness, which is 1 gene physically. I can see physically tall and 1 short. So physically, though 3 are tall, 1 is short, but how many phenotypes are there? It is 3. What am I saying? How many phenotypes are there? It is 2. That's phenotypic appearance. They are tall and short. Tall and short. So therefore, the phenotypes are tall and short, which is 2. The answer is 2. Though 3 are tall, 1 is short, but how many physically? How many? We have only tall and short there. We have only tall and short. So the answer is tall and short 2. The answer is 2. 2 is the answer, tall and short 2. 40. What is the ratio of the genotypes in the second filial generation? Ratio of the genotype. I said that a genotype is an individual's collection of genes. The term also can refer to 2 alleles inherited for a particular gene. 2 alleles, whether is it for shortness or tallness inherited for a particular gene. So you can see that in the second filial generation, we can see 1 capital letter T, capital letter T, 2 alleles for tallness, which is this. Capital letter T, capital letter T, 2 alleles for, or 2 genes for tallness. We can see 2 capital letter T, small letter t, this and this, this and this. Capital letter T, small letter t, there are 2. That is 1 allele for tallness and 1 for shortness. And we can also see 1 small letter t, small letter t, which is this, which is 2 alleles for shortness. If you look at it, is 1 homozygous tall that has no gene for shortness in him, 2 heterozygous tall but they have gene for shortness in them, and 1 homozygous short. So that's 1:2:1. So the ratio is 1:2:1, and your best answer is 1:2:1. I believe you understand this. Alright guys, we've come to the end of today's section of learning, where we looked at past questions on Jamb Biology 2020. We solved questions 36 to 40. In our next video, we are going to be looking at questions 41 to 45. Now, if you look below here, you see a link. I urge you to copy and paste this link on your browser. This link is going to take you straight to our WhatsApp group. When you join our WhatsApp group, you'll be getting updates and infos on the latest video we have available for you. Now, till you meet again, I still remain Tutor Chima, a Prepclass tutor on biology. Bye, and do stay safe.